this time. Hands on heart, eyes up high. We were made to testify. Charlie and Mike, God and country, we stand right. Truth on fire, we won't hide. USA, side by side. Let them hear us, clear and loud. One small voice can move a crowd. Charlie and Mike, God and country, we stand right. Truth on fire, we won't hide. USA, side by side.
Good morning, Patriots. How you? I'm having nothing but troubles today. It's trying to get all this put together. It is, it's nothing but pissing you off. I'm just saying, it is nothing but pissing you off. I don't know what the deal was, why that didn't have any sound. I don't know what's going on. It's getting on my ever-loving nerves this morning. But this is the Patriot Mike Show. How you doing today? Coming to you live from the downtown metropolis of Lamont, Missouri.
9/11 scale
of
this was a kind of.
We'll get back to that in a second because I had this whole grand opening planned out, and I know I clicked that stinking button. I got to check it. I don't know how to check it, but I got to check it. All right, this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. And I have no idea what Marine in the Woods has put the word of the day or not. I haven't had a chance to even look. I'm literally still setting up the show. There's just so much. The word of the day as given by the Lord, presented by Marine in the Woods, is John 12, 1 through 9. That's John 12, 1 through 9. And is, what the heck is going on here? Really? Okay. All right. I mean, literally everything that could go wrong has gone wrong this morning, trying to get this set up. And not only that, I'm trying to cram all this in. Now I can't find what I'm looking for. It's anyways, cramming it in part's not the problem. It's when you push the buttons and it doesn't do anything, like when I try to start it. So here is my cold open that I didn't get the cold open. What is going on? Why? Okay, here's my cold open.
So if we're all in agreement that it is incorrect to say the 2020 election was stolen, what about the 2016 election?
Look, I'm not going to
go back into history.
It was a stolen election.
It was stolen.
Stolen. He's an illegitimate president. He's an illegitimate president. Pretending to be president.
Why do you think the president is going to such great lengths to essentially prove that he beat you?
Because he didn't.
1/3 of Clinton supporters say Trump election is not legitimate.
I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win.
You are absolutely right. You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
The 2016 election was stolen. Got a nicer way to say that?
Say Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia hacked our elections.
A little louder, please.
Russia hacked our election. That was a 9/11 scale event.
This was a kind of cyber 9/11. American
cyber
institutions.
9/11.
Yes.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia, of course, hacked our election here.
Half of Clinton's voters believe the conspiracy theory that Russia hacked election day votes.
We know that they were into voting rolls, actual interference with the elections themselves. We know it happened.
Despite no credible evidence, 67% of Democrats believe Russia tampered with vote tallies.
Hacking the U.S. election.
Hacking the U.S. election.
Russia hacked our election. The Russians hacked our election.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia hacked our election.
Russian hacking of our election.
Hacking of our election.
Russia hacked our elections.
Russia hacked our elections.
Stolen election.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia hacked our election.
The universal assessment that Russia hacked our election in 2016.
Foreign governments hacked our elections.
Most young Americans consider Donald Trump an illegitimate president. Illegitimate president.
He's an illegitimate president.
Why is he illegitimate? He just won an election.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind. That's it.
I absolutely agree.
Experts urge Clinton Kent to challenge election results.
We will see how illegitimate his victory actually was. He's an illegitimate president.
Russia hacked our election.
Russians hacking our election.
Hacked our election.
Russia hacking our election.
I don't see the president-elect as a legitimate president.
Trump is an illegitimate president who stole the election.
He is not a president.
He's illegitimate. And my biggest fear is that he's going to do it again with the help of Vlad, his best pal. It's terrifying.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate?
Hillary Clinton voters called to overturn election results.
More than 4 million people have already signed a petition on change.org, calling for the electors of the Electoral College to, quote, ignore their states' votes and cast their ballots for Secretary Clinton.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016.
We are the victims of a bloodless coup. He didn't win the general election.
Yo, Electoral College, make Hillary Clinton president, period.
Donald Trump is an illegitimate president.
Illegitimate president.
Dems don't accept Trump as a legitimate president.
This wasn't on the level. This election was not on the level.
I don't think he's a legitimate president.
Our election wasn't legit.
He got his victory from cheating.
Yes, Trump cheated.
Trump cheated the 2016 election.
He's an illegitimate president.
No validity, no credibility.
And because of that,
Anger at what some see as an illegitimate president.
It will not be a peaceful change of power.
A number of incidents turned violent. Protesters hurled trash cans, flash bombs, and objects at police.
Several officers injured.
Protesters threw rocks and smashed windows, leading to more confrontations, injuries, and arrests.
The chaotic scene just blocks outside the secure area of the inauguration.
If denying election results is extreme now.
Yeah.
Why
So
look at that?
let's be really clear. That comparison that you made is just ridiculous.
Protests against Donald Trump's election victory surged overnight, and some became violent.
Violence erupted on the streets of Portland during the second straight day of protests over the election of Donald Trump. Some protesters launched fireworks and other projectiles at police. Several people began vandalizing cars.
Some demonstrators smashed store windows. Protesters faced off with police in other cities, too, including Oakland, Denver, and Minneapolis.
Violent protests continuing now for the third day in a row. Some 4,000 angry demonstrators over Trump's election victory taking to the streets.
Officers confronted thousands of protesters in what police called a riot.
Setting fires, taking their frustrations out on cars and buildings. People threw projectiles at officers and damaged property as well.
I threw a trash can at them because I'm angry.
One woman driving through was attacked as someone used a bat to smash her windshield.
They are undermining our democratic process, everything that we stand for.
So there's 4 minutes of Democrats basically saying that the election was stolen. And now they're saying elections can't be stolen. It's impossible. And Donald Trump has no proof, no evidence. He can't prove anything. He didn't see it. I got people on Facebook I was talking to earlier. They're like, Donald Trump's lying. Look, CBS fact checked it. I'm like, the documents aren't Donald Trump's documents. It's their documents. That's what's happening here. And I want to point out just some of the most ironic things that are out there right now. that, well, here's more. Here's more of them. Experts. The ones that know. Here's more.
Vulnerable. Right. We need to look at all the voting machines. Every Secretary of State needs to be, assisted in making sure that they are not being hacked and attacked.
I continue to think that our voting machines are too vulnerable.
Researchers have repeatedly demonstrated that ballot recording machines and other voting systems are susceptible to tampering.
Even hackers with limited prior knowledge, tools, and resources are able to breach voting machines in a matter of minutes.
In 2018, electronic voting machines in Georgia and Texas deleted votes for certain candidates or switched votes from one candidate to another.
The biggest seller of voting machines is doing something that violates Cybersecurity 101, directing that you install remote access software, which would make a machine like that, a magnet for fraudsters and hackers.
These voting machines can be hacked quite easily.
You could easily hack into them. It makes it seem like all these states are doing different things, but in fact, 3 companies are controlling this.
It is the individual voting machines that pose some of the greatest risks.
There are a lot of states that are dealing with antiquated machines, right, which are vulnerable to being hacked.
Workers were able to easily hack into an electronic voting machine. It was possible to switch votes.
43% of American voters use voting machines that researchers have found have serious security flaws, including backdoors.
We know how vulnerable now our systems were. I know the hackathon that took place last year, where virtually every machine was broken into fairly quickly.
I actually held a demonstration for my colleagues here at the Capitol, where we brought in folks who, before our eyes, hacked election machines, those that are being used in many states.
Aging systems also frequently rely on unsupported software like Windows XP in 2000, which may not receive regular security patches and are thus more vulnerable to the latest methods of cyber attack.
In a close presidential election, they just need to hack one swing state, or maybe 1 or 2, or maybe just a few counties in one swing state.
I'm very concerned that you could have a hack that finally went through. You have 21 states that were hacked into. They didn't find out about it for a year.
Right now, we have over a dozen states that either don't have any backup paper ballots or only have them partially. Do you think that our adversaries don't know what those states are? Of course they know what those states are.
Up here.
And if we have a close election in the general election, in a presidential race, and one state's outstanding,
I can play this video
gets hacked into, their elections
for 21 minutes.
You will have absolutely no backup.
I'm not going to play the video for 21 minutes. But there's 21 minutes of Democrats in 2017 saying that you can hack our elections. And you want to know how they know that our elections can be hacked? Because they're hacking them. That's how they know. That's how they know. That's from Kianoka the Great, if I said his name. I can't ever say his name right, so it's probably wrong. But this is the best one here, and I want you to pay attention. I want you to pay attention to this. Whoops. Let's see here. I want you to pay attention to this one. This is the best one yet. This right here. I want you to write this down and take notes of this, take screenshots of this, think about this really, really hard, what this means with what I'm about to, and we may go back and revisit this video once I find it here. Here it is right here. This is Laura Loomer put this up. This is Hillary Clinton and Rachel Maddow. And listen to what they say in light of everything that's coming out now. Don't, Deborah, you can correct me all you want. It's not going to help. I butcher people's names, and now it's part of my shtick, so it is what it is.
Republicans look at the Trump White House and say, well, the Russians probably did help them, to whatever extent we may not yet know. So we're not going to go there. We're going to do what they tell us. Imagine, Rachel, that you had one of the Democratic nominees for 2020 on your show. Mm-hmm. And that person said, The only other adversary of ours who's anywhere near as good as the Russians is China.
What?
So why should Russia have all the fun? And since Russia is clearly backing Republicans, why don't we ask China to back us?
I hereby tonight ask China.
That's right. And not only that, China, if you're listening, why don't you get Trump's tax returns? Russia is clearly backing Republicans. Why don't we ask China to back us?
I hereby tonight ask China.
That's right. And not only that, China, if you're listening, why don't you get Trump's tax returns? I'm sure our media would richly reward you. Now, according to the Mueller report, that is not conspiracy because it's done right out in the open. So if after this hypothetical Democratic candidate says this on your show, within hours, all of a sudden, the IRS offices are bombarded with incredibly sophisticated cyber tools looking for Trump's tax returns, and then extracts them and then passes them to whatever the new WikiLeaks happens to be, and they start being unraveled and disclosed. Nothing wrong with that.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing wrong with that. I don't know what the problem is. We're just asking China to hack our elections, so that the Democrats can win. Did you hear what did you hear that? Did you hear that? All of your friends telling you, all the people telling you that this is fake news, that this isn't really happening, that just remember, all the stuff being released right now is them. All the stuff being released right now is them talking. It's them. This is their documents, their stuff. They thought it was going to be hid away forever. That's what they thought. But first this. Let's add a little levity. Here is TMZ asking Chucky Schumer if he farts a lot. Why are you? I swear to God, this computer is getting on my nerves. All right, let me do it again and reload it. All right, let's try it again.
Senator. Senator Jacob with TMZ, did you fart yesterday on the Senate floor?
Did you fart yesterday on the Senate floor? But wait, why buy one when you can get two? Because TMZ was on the Hill and they run across Tim Burchett, so they asked him about it. They asked Tim Burchett about it, who, let it be known how he felt.
Hey, I was wondering if you heard Chuck Schumer kind of passed gas. It sounded like he passed gas when he was up there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I think he'd just been to Taco Bell. I saw that, yeah.
It's kind of like, it's a little sort of embarrassing if that's really what happened, but also like it's so natural and kind of relatable. Is it relatable to you?
No, because everybody says, oh, you can eat that, it's organic. I said, well, that gum horse manure is organic. I don't eat it.
Fair. You've never had that sort of like, bubbling in your stomach and needed to do that while you're giving a big speech?
I'm 61. If I pass the bathroom, it's just by accident. All right, I go in as much as I can.
So would you sort of reassure Chuck Schumer that we all
Chuck,
do?
It's okay, baby. You're human. If you need me, I'm here.
Oh, very good, mate. Would you eat Taco Bell today? Would you go and if someone offered you some free?
Probably the safest time to eat Taco Bell would be today. It's kind of like flying on an airplane after a bad accident. The next day it's the safest day you could ever fly.
That's probably true. Hey, thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Good to see ya.
It's not what's happening is not the color of my mouse or my monitor. What's happening is the interaction of something is conflicting with the software that I use. And it's causing the sound. I have to go back in and reset the sound. It's the third time. Once before I started the show, then now twice during the show, I've had to go in and reset the sound. So it's not somebody's asking about maybe I should color code my mices. Well, they're in order. It's just the muscle memory where, for doing it for a couple of years a certain way, I'd have to look down at the mice if they were different colors. I'd have to look at the monitors. I'm trying to make it flow, but I pretty much got that down. The problem is that doggone software keeps acting up, and there's nothing. I mean, nothing I can do about that except complain, which that's what I do naturally. So, okay, here is. Hopefully, I didn't just screw it up again. So here is some more.
Everyone in this room,
okay,
and
hold
all
on
the
a
media,
second.
that I was the subject of an assassination attempt.
Here is some more on the farting. Like, for example, this little meme right here. This is a winner. There's explosive diarrhea. And I would have got it if it wasn't for you kids. Because, they're asking if Chucky Schumer's had Taco Bell. Oh, I got more of the fart memes. So, for sure. Let me get right here. Right here. This is it right here. This is the one. I know I'm a little early, but I'm not getting explosive diarrhea vaccines. I'm not either. They're working on one. They're working on a vaccine that will 100% stop your explosive diarrhea 90% of the time, except for 80% of the time it's effective. 70% of the time it will work. 50% of the time it will help you with the explosive diarrhea. The reason it's not working with your explosive diarrhea is because your neighbor hasn't been vaccinated and isn't wearing a mask. That's pretty much the size of it right there. So make sure you go and get vaccinated for the explosive diarrhea, or else you might wind up dead by explosive diarrhea. Right there on the Oregon Trail. I'm just saying. All right. Now back to the previous scheduled serious conversation. Now, I got a question, and I can tell who you are when you. So, if you are a supporter of the Patriot Mike Show, in other words, you contribute to be part of Locals. I was going to do a show after the show today because I know this is just going to be long, but there's a lot of pertinent information. So I have a question. Do you want me to continue going as long as y'all stay with me, make it a 3-hour show or whatever? Or do you want me to drop off and go to this for subscribers only on the show after the show? I'm asking subscribers because you guys pay extra to get the extra. Do you want me to continue? If you want me to continue, say yes in the comment section and you're a subscriber. If I get a handful of you subscribers saying yes, then that's what we'll do. That's the way we'll do it. Over there on X says nothing surprised me. He says please keep going. Looking for the subscribers. Keep going. The subscribers are saying yes. Subscribers are saying yes. I'm good either way. Keep going. For all I pay, but I don't mind sharing. There you go. Yes, keep going. Keep going. So all the subscribers are pretty much saying keep going. So we'll go with what the subscribers are saying, and we'll keep going then. And so there you have it. There you have it. Subscribers win. So I'm going to go as long as it takes to go here, and we will let this thing ride. Okay, does that sound like a plan, Stan? All right. So we had Donald Trump's big deal last night, but we had other stuff going on. We had Stephen Miller and Treasury and Marco Rubio talking about leftist terrorist security and how that's really one of our biggest threats. I find it interesting that with Trump's speech that this is what they decided to also do yesterday.
Your instincts to all people and across all civilizations. You know what normal is. You know what beautiful is. You know what good is. You know that families are right. You know that children are precious and beautiful and must be protected. You know that the criminal and the junkie and the predator is a threat to normal, healthy living. This is so much deeper than issues about taxation and regulation, although they're incredibly important. It's about normal, healthy, ordered living. And the violent leftists, for these deep-seated reasons, going back to the earliest wisdom taught to us in the Bible about coveting. And I'm not talking about rich versus poor. I'm talking about a much deeper kind of coveting people who are morally superior.
So he's laying the foundation of principled living compared to.
I'm going to remind everyone in this room.
Here is Bassett.
But I'm going to remind everyone in this room and all the media that I was the subject of an assassination attempt February 2024 by an adult left-wing activist 2 hours after being sworn into my job. So any of you who want to report that this is a fiction and does not exist, be there for the sentencing this August. So good morning. Thank you, Secretary Rubio, for convening this new.
So Robert says, it looks like Trump is flooding the zone finally again, putting so much out there that they can't focus on one item, and Trump controls the narrative. Well, I told you that 6 months ago when everybody's nothing's happening, and it was Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey. We're going to talk about Thomas Massey. Flooded out there going Epstein. I said, just wait. Donald Trump's learned that this is all politics and it's an election year. And when it gets close to the election, and I said August, September, October, somewhere in there, here we are, the middle of July, and it's starting up again. He is hammering them and they don't know what to do. So here's some more from Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is one of the best out there that there is, in my opinion.
And we have to use every lawful and legitimate tool that we have to demonstrate that justice will be served and delivered, and to prove that these kinds of tactics and techniques will ultimately fail. If the leftist learns and observes that their violence and criminal activity helps and ultimately succeeds in achieving their desired political end, they will be endlessly emboldened. Here in the United States, we've seen a growing and deeply alarming increase in attempted assassinations against public figures. Most notably, of course, the multiple assassination attempts against President Trump, the successful assassination attempt against Charlie Kirk, many others. This is a fatal cancer to civilization.
Fatal cancer to civilization, he says. And let's go.
Clear threats of violence against our Supreme Court to try to shape how they rule on upcoming decisions. The leftist does this with the full desire, intent, and understanding that the threat of violence against a public figure or their family is meant to cow them into behaving or acting or conducting themselves differently.
Why did I just lose the sound? Hopefully that didn't kill the sound. So there is talking about violence against like the SCOTUS in order to cause fear in SCOTUS, so they'll change their their votes. Here is, for example, a couple of Supreme Court justices and the different ways that they think.
I'd rather die than withdraw. If they're gonna kill me, they're gonna kill me.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process. Not for the purpose of serving on the Supreme Court, but for the purpose of not being driven out of this process. I would not be scared. I don't like bullies. I've never run from bullies. I never cry uncle, and I'm not going to cry uncle today, whether I want to be on the Supreme Court or not.
So I thought I would just share a little bit about how the threats have affected me and my family personally. They have required me to, my children, to think about and see things that children should not have to see or think about. One example is when threats to my life were particularly intense a few years ago, around the time of the Dobbs leak. My security detail sent me home with a bulletproof vest, and I carried it into my house, put it into my bedroom, dropped it down on a table, turned around, and my 12-year-old son was standing in the doorway of my bedroom, and he wanted to know what it was and why I had it. And I didn't know how to respond because maybe I lack imagination, but I didn't expect that performing this service was going to put me in the position of explaining to my children what a bulletproof vest was and why I had to wear one.
So there's Amy Coney Barrett compared to Justice Thomas. And you see the difference and you wonder, and I'm not sure I have this, but let me go to this post. I think there's a post here. Let me just see if I can find it here real quick. I saw it and I didn't share it, and I should have shared it. No, I'm not seeing it. It's okay though. I saw a post that showed Amy Coney Barrett's votes prior to this, where they tried to assassinate her, where it got real, and then after that, and how her votes went from really conservative to middle of the road, even leftists. She's voting out of fear. She's making decisions on the Supreme Court, not out of what's right, not out of what's wrong, but she's afraid. She's afraid. Here's more from Stephen Miller and the left-wing extremists.
One of the hallmarks of left-wing violence and terrorism is its completely pretextual and disingenuous appeal to civil liberties in an effort to shield its own violence. This is the tactic that the left always uses to try to protect itself from facing criminal punishment. It is essential that we are wise enough and strong enough to understand that these appeals must fall on deaf ears. When the leftist, who does not believe in freedom, who does not believe in civil rights, who does not believe in any ordered notion of justice, protests that we are violating his rights, understand that he is lying to try to persuade people who are not closely following the political scene that some injustice has been perpetrated against him. We must stay the course and be completely unflinching in the pursuit of justice against these enemies of civilization. If the left is allowed to use the real or actual threat of violence to destabilize our institutions, then those institutions cannot and will not succeed.
And that's just it. That's their purpose. You got to put all this into the big picture. We've got this security thing going on, talking about violent leftists. We now found out that the CCP the Communist Chinese Party has been infiltrating our elections. We now find out that actors within our government committed treason by trying to hide that from the president. We also find out that where all the money that's being stolen all around the country, everywhere there can be fraud, there's fraud. We also find out that all of the Russia stuff was completely made up. We also find out that certain individuals in our government have made decisions poorly to put emphasis on their own power and greed than on America. We also find out that Venezuela was involved. We also find out that Cuba was involved, that Iran was involved. We have these patriot mythology influencers like Candace and Tucker and the rest that are taking money. We know they're taking money from various places, nefarious places. We find out that Tucker is in communication with IRCG officials. You put all this together, and I know I've left stuff out, but you put all this together in a big giant pot. We know that the Rona was to create the mail-in ballots in order to steal an election. We know that Dr. Fauci was working with the Chinese to make the Rona and the vaccine. We know that the vaccine was a DARPA program as a biological weapon. We know that they had biological weapons facilities in Ukraine. We know that the color revolution, the green revolutions that the CIA put on in Ukraine, in Yugoslavia, in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Syria, in Iraq, all of these green revolutions that they're actually doing here right now to us. We know that the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, are all involved in this. We know that we're going to get to finding out that the same guy who was doing all the funding of this that Donald Trump was talking about to interfere in our election is married to the Code Pink gal, the Code Pink gal that's hanging around with Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's one big, gigantic psyop in order to destroy our country. That's what we're finding out. Excuse me. Oh. I build it up in there. I was like, here is Marco Rubio on his little conference.
Against this encroaching darkness and fight for what is ours. It is easy to destroy great things. It is far more difficult to make them. The enemies of civilization are only capable of the former. They are only capable of destroying great things. All they know is destruction. But we have built great things together. We have done it time and again. We know what we must do, and now we must do it. Thank you for coming today.
I've heard this all day since last night. He released the documents, but who cares? You know what? I've heard this. Who cares? You're absolutely right. I don't know why the hell we're even doing this. Forget it. We're done. Forget it. I'm going to turn the show off. I'm going to quit, go get a damn job. Why are we even here right now discussing this? Forget it. The mainstream media won't talk about it. Nobody's going to do anything about it. Oh my gosh, we might as well go and eat some worms or something. Forget it. It's done. It's over. I'm out of here. Goodbye. Is that the answer? Let me tell you something, Shirley. This isn't just about you. It's about everybody who says that. It's not about you. Yeah, you've known about this for years. We're the minority. There are people out there that's never heard this. There's people out there on Facebook right now who have no idea that any of this is going on that I've been talking to. Why hasn't people been arrested? Well, number one, yesterday there was a comment in the chat. Why hasn't anybody, they've had 6 years to do something. No, they haven't had 6 years. The people doing it, the people committing treason against our government has ran this thing the whole time up until last year when Donald Trump got elected and finally started cleaning these people out. It wasn't till 2 weeks ago that we were able to clean the 16,000 people out of the ODNI and get rid of them so they can't cause the interference. It was only until the Supreme Court ruled that we could fire these people, because he tried to fire them this time last year and the courts ruled against him. I'm so sick and tired of this, oh gosh, nothing's ever going to be done attitude. Let me tell you something, it's going to be done. You didn't say that. What do you mean you didn't say that? I'm taking it the wrong way. Well, the mainstream media won't do anything about it. Something bigger has to happen to expose. This is the bigger thing. This is it. It doesn't matter if Jesus Christ himself came down and talked to Rachel Maddow and Jen Psaki on MSNBC and said Donald Trump is right. They stole the election. It doesn't matter. They know it's stolen. They're in on it. It doesn't matter if the sky splits open and God says, Donald Trump is right. It doesn't matter. Well, here's what's happening right now. You fail to understand what's happening. Donald Trump declassified the papers yesterday. Listen to what I'm saying to you. All those documents were classified. They could not be used in the grand jury because the grand jury did not have classification to see the documents. Let me say this again slower. This isn't about the media. This isn't about the Democrat. This isn't about Q. This isn't about affecting anything in public opinion. This isn't about the media going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, Donald Trump's a liar. He's wrong. It's none of that. He declassified these documents, listen to me, so that the grand juries that are impaneled all over this country for the seditious conspiracy can now access those documents, decide who's a criminal, issue subpoenas, and go arrest them. I don't know. It takes about 30 to 45 days. Let's see. July, August, September, October. This is going to be the biggest October surprise that's ever happened. And it's perfectly planned by Donald Trump. It doesn't matter, Shirley, if the leftists and the Democrats and the media and anybody else, it doesn't matter what their opinion is. The opinion that matters is that grand jury in the Southern District of New York, in Pennsylvania, in D.C., and in Florida, and most importantly, Florida. That's what matters. Donald Trump yesterday, July 16th, 2026, released declassified the documents, so now the grand jury can use them for the seditious conspiracy. And if it's true in those documents, and it's what the documents say, that the Communist Chinese Party was paying journalists, paying politicians, and paying bureaucrats to commit treason against the United States. There are journalists that are going to go to jail for treason, is what I'm saying to you. All these people you're so concerned about that we need to convince, they already know it's true. They're lying to you. This is not about you or me or anybody else. It's about that grand jury. And guess what happens when the grand jury makes a decision and subpoenas go out and people get arrested and they go on trial? I wouldn't be surprised. The first thing that the prosecution does, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if the first thing that the prosecution does is put a gag order on everybody, just like they did to Trump. You can't talk about it. You can't go on them and defend yourself in public because this has not a damn thing to do with public. Here, for all you conspiracy theories that say nothing's happening, let me put on my conspiracy theory hat because stuff is happening, whether you like it or not. What is this? What are you talking about? It's a 27-minute speech on the 27th anniversary of John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr.'s death. And not only that, by the way, the speech was on the 16th. Today is the 17th. Today's the day that the ODNI and the FBI and all that stuff are going to have their press conference. No, we can't just hang them. I mean, you could get the pitchforks. Listen to me. They want us to rise up and have a civil war because they win. Did you hear what I just said? Do you understand what they want? Do you understand what they want? They want us to have a civil war because then they will win. That's what they want. They want to have a civil war because they will win. Here's the media. Remember, this is before the speech. The media. They know. Every single one of the people in this room, sat through Biden, sat through Obama, sat through Trump, they know the truth. Every one of them. Did you not see? I have 20 minutes of Democrats saying that elections can be rigged in 2016. Everybody knows it's true. You can sit there and defend yourself and say you never said nothing's happening, but that's what you posted. Something bigger has to come along for to happen. It's the same thing. But I'm not just, like I said, again, you say I don't listen to you, you're not listening to me. It's not just you that I'm talking to. It's everybody who's saying that. Everybody who's going, I wish nothing going to happen, blah, 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 because it's not about you. You see, the Democrats, the walls are closing in, 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 the walls are closing in. Well, during the Russia. And they were so excited to see the raid on Mar-a-Lago. They were so excited to get that picture, his booking picture, until they saw the picture. They were so excited. But nothing ever came of it because there was nothing there. What's happening here is you're not getting the perp walk. You're not getting the raid. You're not getting all this other stuff. Oh, Maggie. Still spewing the Q nonsense. I'm not talking Q nonsense. I'm talking about the documents from the CIA, the FBI, the ODNI, the CSA, the CIA under the Biden administration, Obama administration that just got released. So, by the way, you don't watch my show very much, and it's obvious because when I spew the Q nonsense, as you talk about, and the conspiracy theories, I let everybody know by putting my aluminum head on to make sure everybody knows I'm talking conspiracy theory. You don't watch my show, and you're ignorant of how my show works. I'm not that guy. Maybe you should watch my show more often. You know, you might learn something. Keep going. You'll learn something today because we're going to talk about it. I got lots to talk about. Here's the media. They know before his speech, this is what they said. They know what's coming. They know it's all true.
2020. I know the question is, Why is the president unable to let this go?
Well, first of all, Garrett, I think part of the problem is that the media has refused to acknowledge that tens of millions of Americans across the country share the concerns of this president about the sanctity of our elections. And your premise of your question, you're jumping ahead to a conclusion in this speech before even hearing it yourself. I think that everyone should tune in tonight, including the people in this room, and you should report on the president's speech and the findings that he is going to reveal in this speech with a little bit of honesty and a little bit of integrity, because it will shock you if you have an honest eye listening to the president tonight, and everything he is saying will be backed by facts and by evidence that will be provided this evening. And again, Garrett, I think all Americans, Democrat, Republican, should agree that we are the greatest country in the history of the world. We should have the safest and most secure elections in the history of the world. And what the president will be speaking about tonight will show you that perhaps that is not the case. And we need to make some adjustments moving forward, including the Save America Act, as Rachel pointed out.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. I had the story. It just didn't make it. Just too much to talk about. But yes, they did. Several other places around the country have been raided too. Let's see. We'll skip Chucky Schumer for now. There's the flyovers on the beaches. Did you see that? There was flyovers, and the media's all upset about it. Pete Hegseth said this about the flyovers. The flyovers will continue until morale improves. You'll love that one, Marine. I think it's great. I think it's great. Okay. Here is talking about the terror. But mind you, the Antifa people, Donald Trump got elected. The media stirred the pot and said he stole the election. I played the videos at the beginning. I got 21-minute video of Democrats saying in 2016 the election was stolen. 21-minute video. They sent out their minions. Remember? Don't we remember what happened in 2017? When they tried to burn down the church across the street from the White House? It's official. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is moving to revoke tax-exempt status and crack down on left-wing organizations who fund violence and Antifa. Bassett just rallied with Secretary Marco Rubio and Stephen Miller with dozens of global officials to combat radical leftist terrorism. Absolutely zero organizations should be getting federal benefits if they're supporting the destruction of Western civilization. Many of the 65 nations share a history of far left extremism. It's well organized, well funded by the USAID in the United States of America, of course. Let me tell you something. This is completely orchestrated and planned. They know exactly what they're doing. Exactly what they're doing. Now, I want to add this. To the conversation. Rasmussen reports, reader reminder, the feds have Nicolas Maduro's bookkeeper. He was extradited from Venezuela just after Maduro arrived in New York. He can show and prove who paid who, when and why. Democrats are demanding Trump fire lead election fraud investigator Kirk Olson, USA. Too late. By the way, this guy, this bookkeeper guy, was pardoned by Joe Biden's auto pin. What was he pardoned for? Okay, all my Thomas Massey fans, here we go. Are you ready? Report: Thomas Massey spent campaign cash in June on an Act Blue affiliated Socialist PAC membership run by Zoltron. Now, to those that don't know, that are just watching my show, that is what I affectionately call Zoran Mandami. He's Zortron. Yes, you read that right. Just when you think it couldn't get more brazen, he opens his wallet and gives money to Democrat Socialist PAC. This PAC is run by the guy who wants who was a top three donor to the New Yorkers for lower cost PAC, which is the communist up there. The super PAC formed to help Mayor Zoltan seize control of New York City. His name is Mohammed Waqas Javed. His PAC is Fig and Olive Action PAC. He was also given millions to notorious Red-Green Alliance PACs like American Patriots and Justice Democrats. Everyone who donated to his new PAC so far is an Islamist. That has contributed to red-green candidates. That is, red as in communist, green as in Islamist, like Zoltan. Democrat Socialist Islamist Melta Kiros also gave 1,644 to the PAC. The PAC has an even more mysterious organization attached to it, which is listed in the Act Blue directory, Fig and Olive Action Incorporated. Look, its small amount, $154. It looks insignificant on the surface until you learn that this is a membership PAC. This $154 is likely him paying his membership dues. That is Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie paying membership dues to a communist Islamic PAC. Thomas Massie supporting any conservative who should be, is supposedly a conservative who should be helping fight the Red-Green Alliance, not joining their PACs. Whatever happened to American First? Yeah, really? I told you that was all BS. He aligns more with our country's enemies and hardly mentions America First anymore when it's not politically astute. It's been known fact for some time that the Massie has crossed into Red-Green Alliance territory. He's taken nearly $800,000 from Islamists, but he doesn't get paid by them Jews, just the towel heads. As reported by Track Islamist, 79% of the people who donated to him in the 25-26 cycle also contributed to Democrats, reported by me in March. And to top it all off, he consistently collaborates with known socialist Ro Khanna. Why was Ro Khanna in Palestine? Frequently votes with the Squad, Ashib Tlaib, AOC, Ilhan Omar, who's going to go to jail for a very long time. The pair frequently appears together on leftist news outlets, the most recent one being MS Now, to announce the sequel to their Epstein Files grift, Epstein Files Transparency Act 2. By the way, Trump has released the Epstein. He's the only president that has. How many files did Biden release? Did Obama release? Did Bush release? Did Clinton release? I mean, Clinton's all about foreign affairs. And here it is. Thomas Massie for Congress, Fig and Olive PAC, 6/12/26. This is his report that he had to file. Thomas Massie is a Como Islamist. There, I said it. This is not a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. I just showed you the proof. That's why he hates Jews, by the way. That's why all these people are out there pushing the hatred of Jews, is because they're Islamist and, from the river to the sea, kill all the Jews, genocide and all that. We don't want to kill all the Jews. We just want to kill all the Zionists. What is Zion? Oh, yeah. But it's going to get worse, ladies and gentlemen, as this show goes on today, because the stuff that's coming out, but there's nothing happening. The stuff that's coming out, people are being exposed. The big lie, Russian election interference, Russian collusion, Hunter Biden's laptop was a Russian fake. Russia doesn't want Hillary or Biden to be president. Russia bounties hoax, all part of the big lie, and they still push it to today. They do. You know why they pushed the Russia? Don't you remember back in the day when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State and she came out with the Staples button to redo, and she spelt it wrong and all stuff. And the big bosom sold 20% of American uranium to Russia. You remember that? When they were all just big buddies. Why did the Democrats and Hillary Clinton and the rest switch on Russia? You know, Bernie Sanders vacationed in Russia. Old Ted Kennedy was all big fan of Russia. He loved Russia. All the Democrats in the 80s and 90s, they couldn't get enough of Russia. They loved Russia. You know, the Reagan-Iran-Contra affair was the Democrat Party supporting in Nicaragua, supporting the communists, and the Reagan Republicans were trying to support the freedom fighters. That's what that was all about, if you didn't know. They loved Russia. Why did they switch? I'll tell you why they switched. Because they were taking money from the Chinese. And if they yelled Russia, 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 nobody would look at the Chinese. Little secret among us. What do you mean, Mike? They weren't taking no money from the Chinese. Blah, blah, blah. The Chinese, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. $1.8 billion is seed money to Hunter Biden's investment firm that never invested in anything, and the money went God knows where. Oh, yeah, that happened. And that's not over yet, by the way. That's coming back out. I don't know, sometime around October. This says, trust people when they tell you who they are. In Sigmund, this guy right here, Singham, this guy right here, case, this is his idea of fatherly advice to his sons. No matter how much smarter you are than me, I'll always be one thing. I'll always have one thing over you: treachery. Who is this guy? What is this guy all about? Well, let's just roll on here a little bit. Anna Polina Luna, the Chinese government is running a massive op on the American people. Spies infiltrating American politics, spy balloons, Argo terrorism, disinformation campaigns online, paying people like Candace and Tucker and the rest of them, probably through their proxies in the Islamic regions, political networks shattering politics. Naval Singham is currently under investigation by the DOJ. For what? For spying, for supporting the Communist Party. Oh, yeah, but wait, there's more. Oh, yeah, we'll get to it. Trust me on this, because I'm going to skip ahead, skip a few, and get to the Singham stuff. Here it is right here, CBS. CBS this morning is reporting Naval Roy Singham, the wealthy husband of the founder of the progressive nonprofit Code Pink and benefactor to far-left political causes, we got to stop all the dual citizenships with the Jews, but not with Chinese. We're good with the Chinese because he's a dual citizen in Chinese. Yeah, he lives in China, in Beijing. Yeah. His companies are all over in China. He's a billionaire in China. I wonder what his relationship is with Eileen Chow. I don't know. Just asking for a friend. He's under criminal investigation by the grand jury in the Southern District, New York, according to multiple sources with knowledge of the matter. We got knowledge of the matter. Yeah. But wait, there's more. This is just a little bit more here. Let's get a little deeper. Fun fact: Naval Soy Singman's niece serves on the New York City Democratic Socialists of America Steering Committee. Say what? What you talking about, Willis? Oh yeah. What a tangled web we weave when we practice to deceive.
But we've got more work to do. So how are we actually going to win on all the things that Abir talked to us about And I'll say honestly, it's up to all of you. Nothing is a given right now. These electoral victories are truly exhilarating, but they're just one piece of building the power that we need to transform people's lives. So concretely, we're fighting to win the affordability agenda that we campaigned so hard for during Zoran's mayoral race. We are going to freeze the rent tomorrow. We've got a campaign for fast and free buses. We have to make the leap from the exciting Mayor's 2K pilot program to a really universal childcare. And like Abir said, if we're going to do that, we need to have enough money by taxing the rich. And so next year in Albany, 2027 is going to be all about that. We'll have the same uphill battle that we've had every year we fought to tax the rich, but we're going in with double the number of our socialists in office and hopefully double the number of DSA members on the ground to really keep the pressure up. And who knows, if we grow and we build enough between now and then, the next year in 2028, we might be working on a campaign for a Democratic Socialist for president. You heard from everyone. We need you to join DSA. We need you to pay local dues, but I'm going to ask you to do something a little harder, which is to become an organizer. It's all about having conversations. If you, like me, were in the playground, in your elevator, chatting up everyone you know, saying, have you voted for Diary Lisa yet? I hope you'll go back to those same people and really talk about what we're building.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that weird? Now let me remind you of something. So Elaine Chao, you know who that is? I mentioned a minute ago. That's Mitch McConnell's wife. Her dad owns the second largest shipping company in China. By the way, you can't own a company in China unless you're a member of the CCP, Communist Chinese Party. Mr. Sangam owns a bunch of companies in China. So if you can't own you have to be a member of the Communist Chinese Party. His niece is now working for the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, Zoltran's organization in New York City. Weird how that's all connected. But who else is this Singham guy? Well, he's married to the woman. He's married to the woman that founded Code Pink. What is Code Pink? Code Pink's the one that's been pushing communist stuff for years and years, protesting everything that anywhere that America's been involved in any sort of thing. You know, Code Pink, who stood outside and protested Epstein, 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 Epstein. You remember? Standing there with who? Oh, wait a second. Well, here is former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, October 4th, 2023. The war in Ukraine must end. Today, I met the brave Code Pink activists from China. Here she is. But wait, there's more. Here's more Code Pink. And who's that? By golly gee willikers, golly gee. Looky there. Now, back then, I questioned, what the hell is Marjorie Taylor Greene doing with Code Pink? Well, it's just a girl thing you wouldn't understand. Let me ask you a question. I've asked this question again and again and again and again. I still haven't had an answer. I've posted it. I've commented it. I've tagged Marjorie Taylor Greene on X and asked this question over again. When I was up in Detroit with Charlie Simons, Do Not Talk, we were up there at a Turning Point USA event, and she was speaking at it. She gave her little speech, and she was talking about guns. And I said, we have guns because we have guns. And I was sitting about 3 rows back off to the left because the kids sit in the center. And she turned around and looked over at where I was, and fire in her eyes. She was pissed off that I'd interrupted her little talk. It was real quiet. And I waited for her to take a breath, and then I said it. Yeah, she wants to take away your guns too. But I have to ask you a question. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the beginning of this year, with a year left in her term, quit Congress. Why? Is it because she was taking money from this Singham guy, from the communist Chinese? I don't know. Inquiring minds want to know. That's for sure. Inquiring minds want to know. But I don't know. I don't know. No one's told me. I gotta get my screen back up here. What is going on? Oh, that's what's going on. Somebody needs to teach this guy how to do this. Anyways, interesting as we go through all of this stuff. So we got Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, who've been nothing but a thorn in the side of the Trump administration, trying to disrupt and hamper the Trump administration. You see, the Chinese are not dumb. They think long. They bought politicians on the left, which was easy to do because they're greedy. All leftist communists are greedy. That's communism is envy. That's what it is. They bought MSNBC and CNN and even Fox News, brought to you by Pfizer. And they controlled all that, and it didn't work in 2024. So what did they do? They switched. They bought Thomas Massie. They bought Marjorie Taylor Greene. They bought Tucker Carlson, Stu Peters, Candace Owens. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Now, here's another story out in the news, not switching, but switching. Here we go. That's a Candace Owens way of saying it. Fulton County ordered over 1 million extra absentee ballots without stubs or envelopes for the 2020 election and lied about it. The total number of ballots ordered in addition to what was mailed to voters was 1,058,910. This should tell you everything you need to know. Fulton County ordered 1,058,910 absentee ballots at the last minute without envelopes, without stubs. And after they could have realistically been mailed. The extra ballots were not ordered for the reasons given, and what ballots from the order that remained after the election were destroyed. For reference, the total of 528,777 ballots were cast for the 2020 general election. That would be in Fulton County. And of those, only approximately 148,000 were absentee, the majority of which were sent by run-back election services directly to the voter. Because the absentee fulfillment program, there was simply no reason for Fulton County to purchase such a large number of ballots. Fulton County then tried to conceal the order and denied the existence of corresponding documents. In response to the narrowly targeted open records request, Fulton County returned no responsive records. It wasn't until we provided Fulton County accounting code for the invoice funding line, the invoice number that Fulton County requested, and finally produced the records. The number of additional absentee ballots ordered and received, 1,058,910, far exceeded the total number of Fulton County registered voters, including both active and inactive. According to the Election Assistance Commission, the EAC, Fulton County total number of registered voters in 2020 was 836,563, or 113.8% of the citizens' voting age population of 1,058,910 ballots is 126% of the total number of registered voters in Fulton County. Fulton County has requested to have 83,656 emergency ballots available. Was required to have that, not over 1 million. Georgia absentee, provisional, and emergency ballots are indistinguishable. The same ballot serves all three purposes, which is ripe for exploitation. In other words, emergency ballots could be used nefariously and injected or, picked up from underneath a table and wheeled over to a machine, a tabulator, and stuck into a tabulator by a woman named Ruby, something like that. Or cast as regular absentee ballots, aside from the absurd number, We also know that the ballots at issue were not procured to meet the statutory requirements cited above because emergency ballots were required to be available when the polls opened for advance voting on October 12th. The ballot order was placed on October 16th after that time. Also, the ballots were explicitly ordered with no stubs, which emergency ballots are required to have stubs for tracking purposes and to prevent them from being used nefariously. Gabriel Sterling also claimed that the ballots were ordered in case logistic and accuracy testing, L&A, of the voting machines couldn't be completed before the election was required by Georgia law. Sterling's excuse fails for the number of reasons, but the most damning is that the mandatory L&A testing was not performed before the polls opened on October 12th, 2020 for advanced voting as established in the procedure section. And the untested machines were used anyways. The ballots were ordered on October 16th, 2020 after the untested machines were already in use. Just as explained before, emergency ballot requires stubs regardless of the emergency. The conclusion points that these 1 million extra ballots ordered were most likely used for nefarious reasons and injected into the count from underneath the table after the water caused damage and they chased everybody out. It came out from underneath the table and was wheeled over and then crammed through the tabulator machines. For Joe Biden to clear the margin of victory, it is important to note that no other counties are known to have ordered excess numbers of absentee ballots, and both of Gabriel Sterling's excuses would have affected the entire state. So there's that story. All this is coming out. Oh, wait, I got more. I forgot. There's a little bit more. Let me continue the story. Lastly, there's a massive number of ballots in Fulton County inexplicably ordered. The millions of absentee ballots, or enough to replace 80% of all absentee ballots cast for the 2020 general election in the entire state of Georgia. In yet another surreptitious act, only days after an article detailing the suspected ballot order was published, Fulton County issued a public notice stating that they would be destroying the excess ballots immediately. Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait. They got enough ballots for the entire state. And then they said they destroyed the ballots. Did they destroy the ballots or did they distribute the ballots? Inquiring minds want to know. The notice states that there are only 284,901 emergency ballots remaining, but Fulton County ordered 1 million plus emergency ballots. In the notice, Fulton County claims emergency ballots were ordered as a contingency plan and thus were never needed. If that were true, according to Fulton County's own numbers, 770,309 absentee ballots are unaccounted for, because a conflicting number of ballots were said to be destroyed. Excuse me. The physical ballots themselves can no longer be consolidated to determine the number of remaining, and more importantly, the number missing. Fulton County's efforts to conceal the subject ballot order, the timing of the ballot order, the logistical massive number of the ballots ordered, the fact that the ballots were ordered with no stubs, and the destruction of the ballots is a very serious question, which is why the FBI raided, which is why ODNI Tulsi Gabbard was there. A massive number of absentee ballots ordered for no justifiable reason and could have been, and likely were, used to manipulate the 2020 Georgia election. Do you remember how messed up Georgia was? Fire, exploding cars and everything. Yeah. How much worse could it get? Here's that. Someone was mentioning this. I've got this right here. somebody was mentioning this, that the FBI agents seen removing boxes and taking photos of oh, no, this is a different one. You said Michigan. This is a different one. New York City Sheriff Anthony Miranda's home in Queens. So there's another one. I don't know what that's all about, but their FBI is all over the place. Here's Thomas Massey doing what he's paid to do by the Chinese and the Islamists. Massey, I don't think there's a problem in our election that our elections aren't secure because we control the House, the Senate, the White House, and some degree we control the Supreme Court. So I asked my Republican colleagues, why are you concerned? To which this Pedro here says, there is zero auto theft in America because my car's never been stolen. It's sitting in my driveway right now. Pinecone. Why does he call him Pinecone? Do you remember? You guys remember what Pinecone's all about? I remember what Pinecone's all about. Here is Donald Trump on the China stuff. This is the biggest part, I think, is the China stuff, because this will lead to an insurrection act, emergency securing of our elections.
Areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence.
So there it is. There it is. Donald Trump saying it last night. But there's no evidence. He's just saying he's a liar. You don't want to know something? All of those people know it too. Most of them are taking money. Here's some more from Trump's speech last night.
Even shows that China assigned a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project. Compounding the travesty, the second set of documents we are releasing reveals that members of the deep state, very, very famous group of people, in many cases, in our intelligence agency work to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling, covering it up from both the president and the American people like nobody thought was possible. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voter data, think of that, tens of millions of voters' data in 18 states have been bought, stolen, or hacked by China. Yet those responsible for sounding the alarm instead kept the information secret and hidden. They did not disclose to me as president or to anyone else, and to the best of our knowledge, they did not inform Congress. In fact, all they kept saying is, this is the most secure election in the history of our country, a standard, very pat line that was divvied out to say. The cover-up of this colossal security breach is even more disturbing in light of the addition.
Talking about the security breaches, talking about the Chinese, talking about the Democrats being all involved in it. And what do we get? We get MSNBC. Remember, the walls are closing in. The walls are closing in. The walls are closing in. Bated breath. Never panned out. Here is Mark Warner, Senator Mark Warner, panicking. I wonder why.
An analyst to another, and that's their job, is to disagree. But we have seen the conclusions. They have been made. They've been briefed to this president when he was still president on January 7th, 2021. And the amount of disgraceful presentation he made tonight, this is a man who is lost the faith of the American people, even as some of his hardest core supporters, and I fear he will do virtually anything to retain power.
Senator Mark Warren.
He'll do anything to retain power. You know, you mean like stealing elections, taking money from the CCP, buying 1 million ballots when you don't need them? You mean like that? Is that what you're referring to? I'm just asking because I don't know. Now, what we know that plantar fasciitis up there in Maine is out because he's a Nazi and a rapist. So there's 4 people vying for the Democrat seat to be the candidate up in Maine, including this dude. You're not going to believe this. This dude right here, this one.
Do you have to serve in the U.S. Senate?
Oh, I ran for office several times. Didn't win, but I did run. And then I'm a songwriter, and then I write my own books. And then I suppose my transparency, I wouldn't lie to the people, and I wouldn't deceive the people like we're being deceived right now.
Speaking of deceiving the people, I mean, dude, I'm a writer. I'm a writer, yeah, and I like to color with my crayons just like Hunter Biden. And I wear dresses in public and go pee in the ladies' bathrooms. Vote for me. I hope he wins. I hope he wins, and I hope he takes Susan Collins' seat because it's entertainment for me. I mean, could you imagine this guy? Well, we thought Fetterman was bad. It turns out he's pretty good. But I think that maybe because I write children's books, I go and read at Storybook Hour at the Congress there. It'd be great. You know what's even worse? You're not really sure if he's looking at you or someone else. I just say, I hope he wins. Please, Democrats in Maine, please, 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 with a cherry on top, vote for this guy. It's insane. We are living in La La Land. It's just, oh, good night. Monica Crawley. She says it yet last night. Pretty well plain. Rigged. As we've always been saying. Tonight was the opening salvo. More to come. Strap on. It's going to get a lot worse, by the way. A lot more is happening. A lot more is happening. CIA Director John Ratcliffe put this out. Let me stop and let me reiterate something. Up until now, the apparatus of government was controlled by them. Didn't matter if Donald Trump was in or not. The apparatus of government, the levers that make government work, was controlled by them. That is no longer the case. And now you're about to see. Now this has teeth. To support President Trump's transparency initiative, CIA has taken significant steps, including providing declassified documents for the public release, protecting our democracy and the integrity of our elections from foreign influence and interference remains paramount. This is why we produced key intelligence reporting showing that Venezuela government had developed capabilities to manipulate electronic voting systems, raising serious concerns for U.S. election infrastructure security. I have long publicly highlighted China's nefarious efforts to influence the 2020 election against President Trump, as evidenced by my dissent to the flawed January 21 intelligence community assessment. The documents declassified today shed further light on China's intentions. These matters deserve public scrutiny to ensure democracy's foundation. The scrutiny and public confidence, the security and public confidence in our election is unassailable. That's a DA speak for, we got a lot of information, we going after people. That's what he's just said there. Now, here is the biggin that Donald Trump said. The CCP stuff was big. All this is treason that Donald Trump pointed out.
Intelligence obtained by the FBI in 2020, yet buried by rogue bureaucrats, stated that China's activities even included an attempt to manufacture illegal ballots for Joe Biden. Documents show that during this period, dozens of significant CIA and NSA reports about China's election targeting were kept out of the presidential briefing. These were briefings I would get almost every day. Everything was kept out that was of importance. One email among intelligence analysts admitted that they had, quote, deliberately massaged the presidential daily briefing to withhold information regarding Chinese activities related to the election. Another official inside the FBI wrote that she was running, quote, a shadow government, unquote, to keep intelligence about China's election meddling from becoming known and to keep it away from the honorable press. Other officials who witnessed such efforts perceived the motivations to be blatantly political. Recently, we found significant numbers of burn bags in formation, and this is a group of bags that were used to destroy information given by President Barack Hussein Obama to be burned. It was supposed to be burned. These bags were supposed to be at a different level by different people, incinerated and checked, but it never happened. Maybe we got lucky. We believe this was not done on purpose, but rather through gross incompetence of the people that were supposed to burn the bags. But the findings are stunning. Today, I'm asking the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the CIA to investigate how and why such crucial information was hidden, to fire those involved in the cover-up, and to file criminal charges, if appropriate, against these people. Yet concealing China's meddling was only the beginning. The third set of documents we are releasing proves that for many years, Americans were blatantly lied to about the security of our election infrastructure, including electronic voting machines and ballot counting systems. Dishonest, almost all. They're vulnerable and they're easily compromised, and people within our government knew that. Tonight, we're publishing a series of previously classified U.S. intelligence community assessments and other reports proving that our government has long known these machines are extremely exposed to attack. As one assessment states, we judge that the United States adversaries, including at a minimum Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, as well as non-state groups, have the capability to compromise U.S. election infrastructure. That's unquote, but that's some statement, isn't it? Made by.
Okay. I mean, that is treason. If a government official in the intelligence community edited and changed documentations in order to hide things from the president, that's treason. It should be treated as such. Here's a Q post somebody put with that. The point to understand, they knowingly unmasked, attacked names to, after POTUS won the election in 2016, they thought they could prevent the exposure of the information and remain protected. Why did they believe this? What insurance did they have? Infiltration of U.S. government? Question mark. The fact alone should scare every American. Shadow presidency, shadow government. It took this long for a reason. But that's what I just said. They had to get everybody out. They had to get everybody out. That was the reason. That was the reason. Let me let me put a couple things on the screen here. Like, for example, this story. This is from January 2nd, 2017. The Obamas just bought an $8.1 million mansion in Washington, D.C. Take a look. The first president to stay in D.C. in history. After calling Washington, D.C. home for 8 years, President Obama and his wife, Michelle, have put a down payment, roots in the city. They officially purchased a mansion they've been renting for $8.1 million. The Obamas' newish neighborhood in Kelleroma, whatever, an exclusive and wealthy enclave that is home to a host of politicians and diplomats, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, as well as Rex Tillerson, live there. According to Washington Post, the price tag makes the Obamas' new home the second most expensive in the neighborhood. Jeff Bezos' $23 million mansion, the former textile museum, is number one. Located just 2 miles from the White House, the Obamas' new 8,200 square foot house has 9 bedrooms, 8.5 bathrooms, and a basement. Why? It doesn't say that, Mike. Why would you say that? Well, because I've got the rest of the story. All right, I've got the rest of the story, which is this right here. As I prepare this, hold on a second. I got to load the video. And come on. All right. So let me, come on, computer. There we go. Now we got it. All right. So here is Barack Hussein Obama in an interview shortly after he left the presidency and Donald Trump won. And
Jay Bond. And that feeling of a team. I wouldn't have wanted to be out front. But if somebody had,
let me back it up just a little bit.
Somebody asked once, would you have liked to have served a third term if you could have? And I say, I wouldn't have wanted to be out front. But if somebody had said, you can sit in your basement in your sweats, and there's somebody else who's playing the president with a microphone in his or her ear, and you can just kind of give suggestions and policy, then I might have enjoyed doing that. The pomp of the presidency, I don't miss. And I do think that there's a benefit of term limits in getting fresh legs in there, and because the job is enormously tough. But having a chance to just look at big problems and saying, all right, how do we solve this? How do we apply logic and reason? And
so there's Barack Hussein Obama fantasizing, if I could just, sit in the background and run things with a microphone and an earpiece and some brain dead guy, I just wrote a book. It's about my life in the White House, and when Jill was president, and the auto pen and Hunter and stuff. Go buy my book. Yeah, kind of like that guy. Kind of like that. Yeah. But then you think about it. He's not the only one. Donald Trump was pointing out that there was nefarious people within our government hiding things, keeping things from the president. Everybody under the executive branch, their boss is the president. Could you imagine a scenario where a CEO of a company, what would happen if a CEO of a company had people in his company that were keeping the information on how the company was running away from him? His secretaries and his managers all got a big collusion and said, we don't want the CEO of the company to know these things. What would happen if the CEO found out that they were doing that and not telling him the truth? Would they all not lose their jobs? Maybe some of them would go to jail if there was crimes committed. Well, let's just listen to this.
FBI Director James Comey is basically President Donald Trump's public enemy number one. Do you still talk to employees at the FBI regularly?
I do.
And are they afraid to be talking to you?
Yes, matter of fact, they're under siege. And I think about them a lot. I worry about them a lot, both those who are still there and those who've been thrown out while loved ones are sick, while they're struggling financially. There's a lot of pain at the FBI and the FBI community right now, but it's not going to last forever.
Do you think those people who talk to you could get in trouble for doing it?
No, they're not sharing secret information with me or non-public information with me. They're talking about their personal lives.
And I know you had said in another interview that you have been helping some people who have been fired. I mean, what does that help entail for you?
Well, I have made more money than the average FBI employee, and so I try and share that and support.
Yeah, China is very lucrative.
And also moral support.
So Comey told me that they don't talk to him about ongoing cases or classified information, that they talk to him about their personal lives. But it does say something in a climate that is driven in many ways by fear. There have been reports in the New York Times that the FBI is using polygraphs as it talks to agents about what they're doing, especially around leaks. The FBI director, Kash Patel, has been critical of media coverage and leaking, for example. And of course, it all comes as Comey is facing a second indictment, this one over the seashells that he posted that said 8647. He didn't want to talk very much about that case because, of course, he has to go and fight it in court. But this really shows that he is very much still involved in the life of the Bureau. He also said on the air that those people in the Bureau who are still there, who are opposed to the Trump administration, he argued that the Trump administration is politicizing the Department of Justice, that they should just wait out 2.5 years until this president is no longer in office.
Your husband actually knows there's no way that you.
So there's James Comey. There's James Comey. As he tells the people in the FBI, just keep doing what you do, man. Keep hanging in there. It'll be all right. Not a good look. Not a good look. And so, I don't do that. But or do it. I don't care. I want to fast forward here. 1, 2, skip a few, 75, 100. I want to go to a post that was put by MJ Truth Ultra. By the way, I'm just going to let y'all know that there are people that I follow, and you can find these people and their stuff on my Telegram page. If you're not on Telegram, you need to be. You don't have to put it on your phone. You can put it on your laptop. You can put it on your tablet. You can put it on your desktop. I have all my computers. That's where I'm streaming these videos from is Telegram. But I follow certain people specifically. A lot of the people I used to follow 6 years ago, I don't follow anymore at all because they're patriot mythology, insurgency, and a bunch of liars and cheaters and whatnot. But people I do trust, they give good, thought out, reason. If they might not always get it right, but good, thought out, reasonable information is Shipwreck, who is an attorney, and Kianoka the Great, who is an attorney, and Skiff, who I think is also attorney. And then there's Bioclandestine. And then there's Brian Cates. And then there's MJ Truth Ultra. And there's some others too. But for my in-depth thinking on things, those are people that I follow. And they're on my Telegram page. Go to telegram.org, and download the app. And then the link's in the description section on Rumble. And make sure you go to Rumble. Wherever you're watching me right now, go to Rumble. Patriot Mike Show or Patriot Mike Cook. Either way, get my show. Make sure you follow me. And then click the link. Go to t.me/Patriot Mike Thoughts. t.me/Patriot Mike Thoughts. t.me/Patriot Mike Thoughts. That'll take you to my page. Hit the join button and mute it because you don't want to. I don't follow Derek Johnson at all. Will follow Derek Johnson. But those people I do follow. because they give in-depth commentary, thinking, legal thinking, that kind of stuff that I think I can get good information from. All right, so these are videos that were posted by MJ Truth Ultra, and with the conversation we were just having about the burn bags, about all that stuff.
You got to get it right. So we found that room that Dan Bongino talked about, the burn bag room.
Explain a burn bag.
It's basically a large paper bag that you use to destroy and literally shred and burn classified information. So we not only found burn bags in a room that was locked away in FBI headquarters.
And they weren't burned.
They weren't burned, but the room was also off the map. It wasn't on our blueprint. And nobody had access to it. So
how did you find it?
Well, that's what we do. That's what I do. I know that these people put it in places for us to never find. But I also know what Dan talked about and you talked about. There are a lot of good people at the FBI. Now, we got rid of a lot of bad people since Trump took
What
over.
percentage is gone?
Every single one of the people that weaponize law enforcement is gone.
You identify them, threw them out.
And they're terminated.
Okay, so Dan's theory, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it, was he believes that people purposely saved this information, left little crumbs in a trail, like Little Red Riding Hood, wanting you to find it, that it was saved by design by good people, special agents, the rank and file, good guys that want to do good. You believe that?
I think there's a lot of truth to that, because I think the rank and file wanted the FBI to be restored to what it used to be before the weaponization of law enforcement. And so what we have to do is methodically catalog all this stuff. We're triaging computer hard drives from previous directors and deputies. We're looking at the totality of information. We're finding jurisdiction. And by the way.
Okay, here's a little more.
1 to 10, 10 being the worst.
Yeah.
James Comey.
Easy 10. Easy.
1 to 10. Christopher Wray.
Jury's still out, but definitely in that
8, 9, 10.
The only reason I say the jury's still out is because I'm not sure what was deliberate ignorance. In other words, don't tell me because I don't want to know, and what was deliberate. So the jury's still out on that.
Clapper and Brennan.
Oh, only because 10 has to mean something. I'll give Brennan a 10 and Clapper a 9, but Clapper's probably a 10 too. But 10 has to mean something, because or else the rating system doesn't mean anything.
Who else should be on that 10 list?
Stroke. Peter Stroke.
What about Page?
Yeah, I would. The fact that Stroke was a manager makes him worse. I'm telling you, they're all in that 8 to 10 band, but there's nothing like a rating system where everybody gets an A, right? You can't have that, or everybody gets a 10. I would throw, in there as well. In that band, I would put Pre-Step in there.
McCabe?
Oh, McCabe is another easy 10. I mean, McCabe is these guys.
And this is,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm sure. And the thing about McCabe, I think that McCabe would almost be like a 10.5, because what bothers me about McCabe is, listen, Sean, when Michael Milken got caught in that big financial thing, like, he dedicated the rest of his life to charity.
Wow.
There are people to this day go, oh, I don't care. He ripped me off and he sucks. And you're allowed to think that. But love him or hate him, he at least made an effort to correct his wrongs. This McCabe, I would watch him. I'm the deputy now. Like, I'm in his office. He was the deputy. I'm now in your office. I know everything you knew. I'm watching this guy on CNN, and I'm like, the freaking, like,
you lying
hyena balls on this guy. I know he's lying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the fact that he is still, like, that time he comes after me. There was that DC incident where the guy had screamed like Allahu Akbar. And I was very candid with the public. I said, we are investigating this as an act of terrorism. We're not investigating it as a candy store robbery, you dipshit. The guy freaking screamed Allahu Akbar. I don't care about your euphemisms games. I'm the deputy. We're going to speak clearly with the American people. He goes, I cannot believe they said this. I'm like, are you? That's why you're on CNN right now and I'm not. That's.
Yup. Here and it's not done yet. We got more.
This Biden thing. The difference is I fire people. I fired Comey. I got rid of him.
You didn't fire Christopher Wray.
Well, you know what? At the time, I don't know. Let's see what the final judgment is. But I didn't fire Christopher Wray. I didn't fire people I would have, but I fired a lot of people. You know, I had turnover. They have no turnover right now.
How do you know if you get back in, you don't have a network of people around you working against you?
I will, and so will anybody else that gets in as a Republican. These people are sick. These are sick people.
But do you feel better this time around because you know what to expect?
Well, I also know people that I didn't know before. I know now the smart ones. I know the dumb ones. I know the weak ones and the strong ones. I know tremendous amounts of people that I know will do a great job. But I was different. When I didn't like a job that somebody was done, I fired them, just like The Apprentice. I said, you're fired. You have to go.
What about some of your former officials? Do you see them being in this next cabinet? Mike Pompeo, for example.
I don't know.
John Ratcliffe?
He's fantastic. I mean, he's a great guy. John Ratcliffe has done a
what he
great
says about
Dr. Ben Carson?
He's done a fantastic job.
So you're expecting them to be in your cabinet?
Some of them, yeah. I mean, if somebody did a good job, I would do that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He didn't have a lot of words to say about Mike Pompeo. But Christopher Wray. How did all those burn bags survive? And Trump said the burn bags are from all the way back to the Obama administration. How did they survive? Here is Dan Scavino.
You're going to have to do what prosecutors do when they take down a mob boss, right? Remember, they had to flip Sammy the Bull to get the Gambino family. They're going to have to take a capo in this intelligence law enforcement machinery and flip them. And if you get one big name person and you flip them, maybe a deputy FBI director, a senior FBI official,
Maybe a deputy
intelligence council
FBI.
official, say, hey, we'll make a deal with the devil because you're going to testify up and down. I think they make that conspiracy case in a powerful way. And this begins to change very quickly. So keep an eye. Those are the things I'm watching for as a reporter in the next few weeks.
Wow.
I'm watching for as a reporter in the next few weeks. A deal with the deputy director, Dan Bongino. I'm sitting in Ray's seat. I'm the deputy director at the time. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. You guys decide. I report, you decide, right? Like Fox used to say, although they don't do that anymore. Here is MJ Truth Ultra and just his thoughts. We're going to run through a couple of these because he really did a lot last night on this. So it says, President Trump, treason. FBI official wrote an email that they were running a shadow government to keep President Trump and the public from knowing about China's election meddling in 2020. Efforts like to manufacture illegal ballots for Joe Biden. But this information was kept from his presidential daily briefings. That's treason. Who did Q constantly plant as running a shadow government, a shadow president? Right here. Barack Obama sitting in his $8 million house in the basement in his sweats going, say this, say that, say this, Joe Biden. I just, because, I got a book coming out. Go read my book. Yeah. And let's see. This one right here. Nope. That's the wrong one. We'll do this one. Come on. Why are we okay? It's all there. Sidney Powell is owned a huge apology. Smartmatic's ties to Venezuela posed a national security threat, was based on solid intelligence regarding Venezuela intent influence U.S. politics and evidence of Venezuela's manipulation into our election systems. All right there. Shocking, FBI Director Wray signed off on FBI as FBI called China election meddling warning, absolute red line, in December 30th, 2020 email. Top FBI counterintelligence official Nikki Flores, remember that name, slammed a draft intelligence community assessment in the 2020 election. She warned that including any minority view, such which said China did try to influence the election, was unacceptable and called it an abuse of red line for the FBI. Director Wray had already signed off on the main ICA text. The FBI pushed hard to keep China, yes, they interfered, view buried or heavily downplayed. Flores accused the dissenting comments of being misleading and lacking proper evidence, but that sounds familiar. It shows Wray signed off on the main report that said China didn't try to mess with the 2020 election. The FBI team then fought hard to keep that part of keep the part that said China did try from becoming included. So they didn't want to include anything from China. Now this is MJ Truth Ultra last night as he was going through the release of the documents. He's not acting off of what President Trump said. He's going through the documents. He said, this is some serious crap. NSA admins, we deliberately messaged intel about presidential briefings to hide China's election influence in favor of Biden. In this November 2020 email chain, just declassified by President Trump. Okay, to all you people, nothing ever happening, grr. Just declassified by President Trump, meaning now all the grand juries can use this as evidence. 2 senior intelligence officials are complaining about how the IC handled Chinese election interference, and NSA analysts openly admits we have deliberately messaged our one pending PBD to avoid any direct links to the election. They also chopped up a big report into 13 smaller ones and downgraded them so China election connection would be harder to include in the official 45-day assessment. The National Intelligence Officer of Cyber pushes back, saying the IC has been deliberately avoiding any mention of China and elections for months, not because of weak evidence, but for non-substantive reasons, just for reasons. Now, what are we talking about? These are documents that the intelligence community gives to the president, so the president can make informed decisions. This shows clear evidence that parts of the intelligence community was actively conspiring against President Trump with foreign adversaries. This is literally treason. Despite the heavy redaction, this document confirms China PRC stole U.S. voter registration data from 18 states, including personal information. The redactions are standard procedure to protect how we know what we know. But what leaks through is still damaging. It shows China was actively collecting American voter data on a large scale. China committed an act of war. That's what this is, by the way. That's the document. I'm not going to try to go through the documents for time's sake, just a commentary, okay? Crazy. CIA confirms China had multi-year plan to stop President Trump from being reelected in 2020. This is a CIA note summarizing sensitive intelligence from 2018 to 2020. China's PRC, People's Republic of China, that's the military activities. China's, because you got China, you got the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, and the PRC is the People's Republic of China. That's the military. China's goal was for Trump not to be reelected. They viewed an uncertainty of his administration as a problem. Starting in mid-2028, China actively worked to reduce Trump's votes. You know, about 2 weeks ago, Trump was China, China, China. I love China. I love Xi Jinping. I love him. He's a great guy. I could work with him. He's really smart. He knows what he's doing. Golly gee, he's the bestest of the best. You know why he was doing that? Because this was coming. He's buttering them up. Starting in mid-2018, China actively worked to reduce Trump's votes and prevent his reelection by levering opponents and targeting key sectors. You know, like paying Thomas Massey. They analyzed the 2016 election results, identified Trump supporting states, and used tariffs on those sectors to create economic pain. They analyzed 2016 results, identified Trump supporting states, and then they used freaking tariffs on us to create economic pain in order to get rid of Trump. And then when Trump tries to use tariffs, oh my God. China ran influence operations by paying U.S. think tanks, experts, academics, and former officials large speaking fees and trips to get them hooked on China. It's kind of like hooked on phonics. And push Trump on push Trump on tariffs. Listen, think tanks, academics, and former officials, you know, like Hillary Clinton, Uma Aberdeen, academics, like, I don't know, Tucker Carlson. By mid-2019, China specifically targeted political swing states as critical for 2020 election. This internal CIA document directly contradicts the public 2021 assessment that China did not try to influence the 2020 election outcome. It shows China had a deliberate, ongoing strategy to undermine Trump's reelection. And bad actors within our government conspired with China in an election. That is treason. All of this is about the seditious conspiracy. Let me just bring this point home real quick. If you or anyone else, if the media, if MSNBC and Rachel Maddow and Jen Psaki and Hakeem Jeffries and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey and AOC and Zoltron or anybody else did anything to help the Chinese in election interference, whether it was Governor Kemp of Georgia, whether it was the Maricopa County voting boards, whether it was out in California with Governor Hairdo, wherever it was, if they furthered this conspiracy by helping the Chinese, helping the media that was bought and paid for by the Chinese, or the media itself bought and paid for by the Chinese, you are a participant in a seditious conspiracy to overthrow the president and overthrow the government of the United States of America. That is treason. Listen to what I'm saying to you. Under the Insurrection Act, Abraham Lincoln arrested and deported journalists, arrested politicians, judges, attorneys, businessmen, and locked them up for the duration of the war. It has been done before. If you're conspiring with the enemy, you're a traitor, period. If a duly elected president of the United States of America and you're working with a foreign adversary to interfere with his presidential duties and or interfere in a free and fair election to re-elect the duly elected president or elect a new president, whichever the case may be, you are committing treason. And I think we should do the treason I think what we do with these treasonous people is what George Washington did. We should hang them slowly. Look that up. Or we can do the Esther stuff and put them on a pike. Wow, despite being heavily redacted, this document shows that China was actively trying to blackmail U.S. White House officials between 2018 and 2020. Who could that be? Mike Pompeo? Didn't he go to China and make a bunch of big speeches for a bunch of money right after the end of the Trump administration? Could it be Mike Pence? What does that say? U.S. White House officials. A White House official was warned that Beijing had collected derogatory information on him and was trying to use it to force him to take a softer stance on China. This is described as China's attempt to use blackmail against a U.S. administrative official. Lower-level Chinese officials have recommended collecting and using black materials against perceived anti-China U.S. officials since at least January 2019. Even with heavily redacted, the document confirms China was running deliberate blackmail operations targeting U.S. officials, another deliberate act of war. Newly declassified documents show that China planned to stroke violent unrest and blame Trump's COVID response to swing the 2020 election. I got to stop right here. I got to say something, just in case a couple people are watching. If you were upset because Donald Trump was pushing the mask mandates, if you were, no, Donald Trump wasn't pushing the mask mandates, but the media was telling you he was. If you were upset because of Operation Warp Speed, where Donald Trump invented and created the vaccine that turned out to be a deadly weapon, I'm speaking to a couple people specifically here that probably aren't watching my show. If you can't stand Donald Trump because of that right there, 2020, and you've told me repeatedly, I just can't do it over that. And I tried to explain to you what Operation Warp Speed was a Obama DARPA era military program to develop a gene-specific bioweapon. That's why he named it Operation Warp Speed. He was calling that out. If you fell for that, and by the way, right now, everything Trump stands for, you hate, and you hate the Jews to go along with it, you are falling prey to a Chinese PSYOP operation. And this proves it right here. China had extensive plans to use influence and cyber operations to turn public opinion against the Trump administration. They tended to exploit U.S. divisions by encouraging violent demonstrations and looting during economic unrest to make Trump look weak. You know, Antifa, Black Lives Matters, attacking COVID-19 response to increase public dissatisfaction and undermine his legitimacy. China had the capability to push these messages across social media, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and mainstream media, brought to you by Pfizer, using both overt and hidden influencers. One option included gathering information on U.S. officials to damage their public image. I'm telling you. Wow, China is BLM. BLM is China. China planned to incite racial unrest and blame white people hating black people to sabotage Trump. Just everything that's going on right now in this country, the DSA, all of the black on white, white on black BS that's going on, all the stuff going on with ICE is China. China had extensive plans to use influence and cyber operations to pay people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Stu Peters and the rest of them. Oh, excuse me. That's not what it says. I'm sorry. I added that. To turn public opinion against the Trump administration. They specifically targeted racial tensions, planning to allege that white people hate black people, incite demonstrations and marches to highlight racial divisions, increase conflict between people, and anti-racism activities, create the impression that the U.S. law enforcement resists the government and people of color. Other themes included political party fights, Congress versus Trump conflicts, women's rights, and alleged U.S. war plans. China had the ability to spread these messages across social media, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, mainstream media, using influencers. Hello? All of the patriot mythology insurgency that's been going on since Donald Trump came down the escalator. One opinion included gathering dirt on senior U.S. officials, like having Fang sleep around with Swallowwell. This document shows, or maybe having the wife of the sitting leader in the Senate. I don't know. One option including gathering. Okay. This document shows China was actively planning to weaponize racial division to damage President Trump ahead of 2020 election. Another act of war. I guarantee you, I don't know if it'll happen today, tomorrow, the next day. I think, listen to me closely. There's people out there right now saying, if we don't pass the SAVE Act in the next couple of weeks, it will be impossible to do anything about the election. So we have to suffer through with all of the election BS on. And, this is the safest, most bestest elections we've ever electionated. Yeah. It's just going to be too late to put in this place. There's no way we can have voter ID. It's just too late. It's too late. I think Donald Trump is going to let this happen, just like he did with Iran. He let them go, and see, this is Donald Trump over and over and over again. He let them go. He gave them opportunity, give them opportunity, give them opportunity, give them an opportunity, give them an opportunity to do the right thing. Until he doesn't, you're fired. Get out. Or in their case, you're dead because we blew you up. This is standard operating Trump procedure. This is standard operating Trump procedure. Don't be surprised by it when it happens. It happens over and over. And so that's what he's doing here, in my opinion. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing here, in my opinion. He is giving the opportunity for the Republicans in the House to do the right thing with the SAVE Act. And when they don't, then he'll do it. You ain't going to do it, I'll do it. That's what's happening here. And I believe it's the word of the Lord when I say it isn't going to pass. Just like when I said that the mullahs were going to die in their caves, that they will not capitulate. That isn't going to pass. Because the nefarious people that are bought and paid for, obviously by the Chinese now, are not going to let it pass because they need to control the election. I'm going to keep going if you guys keep hanging in there. This is while President Trump is going after Obama. Recently, we found significant number of burned bags information. And this group of bags that were used to destroy information given by President Barack Obama to be burned. These bags were supposed to be a different level by different people, incinerated and checked, but never happened. Maybe we got lucky. We believe this was not done on purpose, but rather through gross incompetence of the people that was supposed to burn the bags. But the findings, maybe patriots are in control. The findings were stunning. Today, I'm asking the Office of Director of National Intelligence and Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, to investigate how and why such critical information was hidden. To fire those involved in the cover-up and to file criminal charges, if appropriate, against these people. It goes all the way back to the Obama administration that they did this. Here's another. Speaking of acts of war, think about all these CDLs, and think about what Donald Trump came out the other day and said he's gonna get rid of, make invalid, and get rid of all these illegals with CDLs and get them off the road and replace them with veteran truck drivers. And what did the media say? They said, "Oh my God, it's so dangerous. Put these veterans in trucks. It's not dangerous. Put these Ahmeds in trucks that don't even speak the language and don't even know which side of the road they're supposed to drive on. That's not dangerous. But putting veterans who drove tanks and trucks and stuff in the war, that's dangerous." Maybe it has something to do with this. An FBI report reveals allegations that China produced tens of thousands of fraudulent driver's licenses and exported them to America. The alleged plot would then have Chinese nationals and in America cast mail-in ballots for Biden. Note, the source of information is indirect, comes from subsource, and is not collaborated. The report indicates that TikTok was used to harvest data that would then be used in the production of fake licenses. It was, however, discovered that TikTok did not collect the addresses. If true, the information would have to be harvested from somewhere else. Yeah, 220 million voter rolls. Think about it. Here is John Solomon talking about the speech. Why was the speech the way that it was? Why did he only go so far in the speech and talk about this, that, the other thing in the speech? Why did that happen? Well, here's John Solomon, what he says. Listen closely.
Listen, I talked to the intelligence chiefs in the last few days as we got prepared for this. It's very important to understand, the president said this tonight, every intelligence chief vetted this speech. They made sure it was accurate. They told me they had never been briefed on the size of the breaches, the 230 million Americans, the 220 million Americans whose data was stolen, that they consider it a security breach. How many times on your network have you reported that 5 countries are capable of hacking our election machines? When is the last time you reported that Venezuela actually succeeded in breaching a machine which has implications for our future security? You haven't, because it was never made public. It has not been made to Congress. It's not been told to the president in the past. We checked the presidential daily briefs. A president was kept from this information. Now we have a chance to fix a glass chin of election security, make the 26th election more secure.
So all of the heads of all the departments looked at his speech, vetted it, and made sure he didn't spill the beans on something they didn't want the beans spilled on yet. Think about that for a minute. Here is Donald Trump, 2018. They tried to influence the election. Why? So that they would lose the House and the Senate and impeach Trump. That's what this was about.
As the documents we are releasing show, CIA reporting explicitly stated, and I quote, in mid-2018, the Chinese Communist Party's policy was to leverage all domestic and foreign elements that were opposed to the U.S. president in an effort to reduce the U.S. president's votes and make him resign or prevent his re-election. Isn't that nice? Also, in mid-2018, China was working to influence the results of the U.S. midterm elections and later the results of the 2020 presidential election itself. Separately, in mid-2019, the Chinese government's strategy against the United States was focused on undermining domestic confidence in the U.S. president. They wanted to just make you sound like your president wasn't so hot, when actually your president has done a great job. And they did everything possible to do exactly that. Going on, this document says, and this is by the CIA, the strategy included efforts to use Chinese contacts with big U.S. companies to influence U.S. business leaders to turn against the President of the United States of America.
What was that last part? U.S. companies, you know, Facebook, YouTube, all of those companies. Think about it. To influence you, to get you mad. There's people right now that I know personally, and I was talking to them a minute ago, that are extreme. They hate Trump. They hate Trump because of what the Chinese did. Don't forget this. I've played it before, but listen to what she says.
The first, a scenario in which Trump finds a pretext, invokes the Insurrection Act, and tries to impose martial law. Elections, therefore, could be canceled, or if they happen, he could surround polling places with military and federal law enforcement to intimidate voters. The second option is harder to track, but can still swing an election, labeling opposition groups, candidates, and elected officials as terrorists or criminals, and going after the infrastructure that allows for competitive elections.
Okay, the infrastructure that allows for competitive elections, all the mail-in ballots, all the cheating, all the obfuscation, all the stuff that they're doing to cheat is the infrastructure to make elections competitive, because without that stuff, they would get killed. This is not a 50-50 nation. This is a 5%, 95% nation, or maybe a 5%, 80% nation with 15% that just they're so dumb they don't know what's going on. That's what this country is. And they don't mind the dumb ones. They like the dumb ones. She said the thing that could happen is he could pass an insurrection act and send the military out to secure our elections. Oh my God. He could label the people who have worked with the Chinese, the Venezuelans, the Cubans, the Russians, the Ukrainians, the Iranians. He could make them, he could call them terrorists and insurrectionists and lock them up and put them in jail. Well, if you worked with the foreign influencers to do that, you are a terrorist. You are a traitor. You are seditious, ma'am. By the way, this chick is the head of the seditious six that came out and told the military not to listen to Trump. Why would they do that? What do they know? Every single one of them, all of them, all the propagandists in the mainstream media, all the elected officials, all the old elected officials, everybody knows that what Trump just said was absolutely the truth, because they all did it and are in on it and getting paid for it. They all know. Just like they all know who's the perverts. They all know who is doing the satanic stuff. They all know. All of them. All of them. I'm going to post a video on my Telegram page. You should go check it out. t.me/Patriot My Thoughts. Links in the description section. It's an interview with Glenn Beck. It's like 20 minutes long, or I'd play it here. With Glenn Beck, where he talks to this preacher that's trying to start a church in D.C. And he goes to this, tries to rent buildings or buy buildings, and they won't sell them to him. They won't rent to him because he's a Christian, and he believes that you can't mutilate children for the trans religion. He believes that abortion is bad, so we just can't have that here in our building. So when he tried to investigate, find out what it is, it led to him to a Methodist church that's in D.C. that hasn't had a service. It's an old, beautiful, old building. It was the foundation was laid by Benjamin Franklin, but in 6 years it hasn't had a service. And he went to them and said, "Can I rent your building?" And they said, "No, because you believe those things." And he said, "But isn't it?" And what the pastor of that church says is that there's the Council of 13 in D.C. And the Council of the 13 decides collectively what the Holy Spirit wants. And the Council of 13 has power over Washington, D.C., spiritually, over the Capitol and over the presidency. You want to know why that your favorite politician, who's a fire and brimstone conservative libertarian, who doesn't want government interference and loves babies and doesn't want abortion and all this stuff, ends up going to D.C., and the next thing you know, he's divorcing his life and got a boyfriend and is totally sold out? Because of these people. because spiritually, because of these people. The Council of 13. And then their spirit that they're counseling with is not holy. It's a spirit, but it's not holy. Ever since Trump was elected POTUS, the Demons celebrated the in-beds who resisted. What does resist really mean in reality? I am running a shadow government in order to thwart the will of the people who elected POTUS. In other words, rebellion or insurrection. That's what we're talking about here. The Daily Beast. The Daily Beast says this. The biggest TV networks deliver a crushing blow to Trump's primetime address. No, they didn't. Not the flex you think it is, Daily Beast. In censoring President Trump's speech on the evidence his administration has collected on foreign election interference, treason, including act of war, including payoffs to journalists at the Daily Beast, the broadcast networks have proven the president's point. Uh-huh. Yeah, okay, I already went through that in a different way. Catherine Herridge has been all over this for months. Catherine Herridge reveals a terrifying possibility. China may have the ability to build digital dossiers on millions of Americans. Herridge warns that China's collection of data goes far beyond voter rolls. And the scariest part is what that information could be used for. Herridge, China is one of the biggest collectors of data on the planet. So if you take the 220 million voters, by the way, if you do the math on the 220 million voters, you take out those that aren't eligible to vote in this country. So we're talking about illegal aliens, legal aliens, children, felons. There's probably some other class of people that aren't able to vote. You're probably right down to that 220 million. There's 350 million-ish people in this country. You take away those people, you're probably right at 220 million, which means China's collected the voting data on every single voting adult in America today. Just think about that for a second. Just do the math. Just ponder that. So if you take the 220 million voter rolls and you combine it with something called the SF-86, those are the security clearance applications that were compromised back in 2015, 22 million files. And then you combine it with the health information that's been hacked, and you can build the kind of digital composite of an individual and can use that for, voter registration fraud. You could use that for identity theft. And significantly, you can also use it to recruit American citizens to your effort, like in New York, the Democratic Socialists of America. Think about it. So it's not just about the collection of data around the vote. It's espionage. Just think about it. They target people in New York who have the pretense to be communists, have the pretense to be Islamists, have the pretense to be on their side, and they manipulate because they have control of the companies, of the corporations, which is what President Trump has said. They manipulate your algorithms, your search algorithms, all this stuff, so that you see the things they want you to see, so that they can convince you of the things they want to convince you of. The next thing you know, you're running around screaming that Zoltron is the best mayor that's ever mayored. She goes on to say this. Catherine Herridge says the whistleblowers was sounding the alarm on China's influence operations in the summer of 2020. But suddenly, it was all suppressed instead of being elevated. Herridge. So the summer of 2020, as we're heading into the election, in the intelligence community, there was indicators of Chinese influence operations. Influence operation means that you're trying to affect the outcome of how people vote or their sentiment about their presidential candidate. Think about all the stuff that was going around about Donald Trump, and he did the Rona, and Donald Trump, and he did the vaccine, and Donald Trump. By the way, there was no vaccine. The vaccine did not exist. When Donald Trump got the Rona, what did he do? He went and got ivermectin. The vaccine did not exist. There was no vaccine. He kept saying the vaccine's coming, the vaccine's coming. Operation Warp Speed, it's coming, it's coming. And they're ready to, you know what? They already had it. They just weren't releasing it until a couple of days after they declared in November Joe Biden was president, and then Joe Biden lined up and was one of the first to get the shot or whatever they injected in him. They got the vaccine just like that. It's weird. It's different than an interference operation, which is pertaining to voter rolls and voter systems. And this whistleblower was raising the alarm about the influence operation, and then suddenly it was suppressed. My understanding is that some of the reports were there were in officials on hand writing that they wanted everything out that could help the President Trump in his reelection. So that we're clear here of the political and personal bias, the intelligence is supposed to be neutral. So that we heard tonight from the president is an allegation that the intelligence was suppressed in order to harm him. Treason, an act of war. And we're seeing documents already back those claims. Now, I don't care who you are, who you support. Catherine Herridge has been one of the best investigating journalists of our time. I don't care. She's one of the best. You may not always agree with the stuff she comes to, her conclusions. In fact, she doesn't really make conclusions. She just puts it out there. That's why she's independent, because she can't keep a job because they don't like her. Says Democrats are completely losing their crap. Donald Trump is releasing unverified, meaningless documents to appease his own. Unverified, meaningless documents. Unverified. From the ODNI, the NSA, the FBI, the DOJ. What do you mean, Chuck? So are all those agencies bad? Maybe we should get rid of them. Chuck, Mr. Farts a lot. Here's another one. The documents will reveal that China can penetrate our election systems at any time in an undetectable way. This is key. Election voting machines must be scrapped. Absolutely. Oh, I didn't put it on the screen. I'm sorry. This is the thing about hacking. Good hackers can erase their tracks. We must return all paper ballots counted same day, night, with voter ID, signature verification, and ballot observers during the counting process from all political parties, except no substitutes. The system must be put in place in all states before 2028 general election. It needs to be put in place like now. Trump's accusations against China should be taken seriously. I know Trump did not make the case that he won the 2020 election. He didn't. He didn't say anything about that, actually. I mean, he has in the past, but he didn't last night. No, he made a case that China was influencing our elections. China was doing this. We now know China used CCP assets in the U.S. media and social media to incite this. That's Minneapolis, if you don't know. There's a reason Tim Walz loved China. Because China was collecting sensitive data on people like Tim Walz. I wonder what kind of data Tim Walz had. Here's another strategy that's being come to light. So President Trump reaffirmed that what we knew was married to COVID. China wanted to take full advantage of a weakened United States under Joe Biden's presidency. They helped lean into all of the dishonest practices the Democrats enabled through COVID, talking about the mail-in ballots and all that stuff, and severely impacted our elections. Those who withheld this information from the president should be in jail. Those who knew the Chinese manipulation scheme was more than a pandemic should feel very, very good tonight. So many poor people died who lost opportunities, jobs, their proms, scholarship, couldn't be next to their loved ones in the hospital, dying or giving birth. The economy was destroyed, businesses shuttered, cities overrun with criminals, shops burned up, people lost their homes. Some cities and industries never fully recovered. But every single America is affected by the states that were robbed from a fair election. From local elections up to president, the sheer impact of this had on citizens' faith in elections, there it goes, procedures, democratic process, and the core of our republic will take generation to fix. I hope people properly consider that betrayal perpetrated by our government, treason, insurrection, and an act of war. America should never forget what they did to you. And don't forget who these people are. Gina Haspel was CIA director in 2020. Chris Wray was the FBI director in 2020. Just consider that for a minute. Trying to skip some of the Nick Sorter says this about it. He says the DOJ needs to track down and jail every single journalist in America who took a penny from the Chinese to assist them in rigging the 2020 election. Absolutely no mercy. Per a newly classified intel report, the Chinese government sought to identify U.S. journalists who had reported negatively on the U.S. president and pay them large sums of money to write more negative articles about him, as many as they could. But the Jews are paying $7,000. It isn't the Jews. It's the Chinese and the Islamists. Ask yourself why your favorite Patriot mythology insurgent switched on a dime. Ask yourself why. Gavin Newsom said this. Why did Gavin Newsom clear the streets and put up Chinese flags all over San Francisco when Xi Jinping came? Tonight, Donald Trump will confirm he is the gravest threat to our democracy, our democratic socialist democracy. This isn't the rule of law. It's the rule of dawn, because I'm really smart, but I don't know how to read because I have dyslexia. Do not bow to this mad king. No, he wants you to bow to him. Hey, Gavin Newsom, God said you're not going to make it to be running for president. So give it up. Go away. We're sick of you anyways. Paul Sperry. Breaking, despite presidential breaking stunning news of massive Beijing hacked in the U.S. voter data and massive cover-ups of its election interference by the FBI and CIA, CNN, ABC, NBC blocked out his primetime address. CBS and MSNBC cut away from it. Only News Nation, Fox, and C-SPAN covered it in full. Trump accused NBC, CNN, and ABC of being a part of a plot to help keep this election fraud going, and called for the FCC to revoke NBC and ABC's broadcasting license. Now, he can't stop on cable, can't stop on the internet, but the airways are owned by the people, and the license are granted by the government to operate in those frequencies. And so They can take those channels off the air. Now, here's a breakdown. Here's a big breakdown. Just a reminder. We're almost done here. I know it's been going a long time. I appreciate y'all hanging with me. Having listened to Trump's speech, none of the people who have been on the journey of uncovering the CIA and their nefarious activities were surprised by anything he said. I'd like to point out a few important things. The documents Trump declassed will expedite everything happening in the grand juries in Fort Pierce. This is what I've been saying, because the fact that they were classified draws out the timeline exponentially. And that isn't a small thing. He mentioned that, this is number 2, that the intel agency, journalists, large U.S. corporations, think large U.S. think Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Google, YouTube, TikTok, which is now American. Just think about that. Corporations, unions, etc., were involved with the U.S. government and China as early as 2018 in interfering in election, creating negative stories, and undermine Trump. That is treason, seditious conspiracy treason. He specifically called out Obama's involvement in it all. He confirmed that everyone that was involved in challenging the 2020 election showed up in D.C. on 1/6 were all right. He noted that the FBI, the DHS, the CIA, and other government agencies worked to coup the country. They systematically, overtly, and consistently worked to hide critical intelligence from the president, and that is treason. He noted the FBI put critical intel and proof of election interference in burn bags to destroy the evidence, also treason. He noted that the CIA set on information confirming the election systems were compromised and overtly hid it. He noted that the ongoing cover-up of the criminal conspiracy to overthrow the government of the United States of America is being hidden by NBC and ABC. By notifying the state government that there is election data, that their election data is compromised, he will force them to take action, or they will be guilty of conducting known fraudulent elections. Now, let me just stop right there and remind you what Kianoka, was it Kianoka? No, it was not. It was Shipwrecked. That's another one I follow, attorney. He said that if these states, like California, knowingly conduct fraudulent elections, that Congress doesn't have to seat those members. They can send them back to California, say your elections are invalid because you knowingly did this. The government has proven that there's fraud in the elections and you didn't change it. You accepted it the way it is. Your elections are fraudulent. We don't accept your elections. Go back to California and do it again. And then that will be states like Washington, Oregon, California, New Mexico, Colorado, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, Maine, Delaware, New York, New Jersey, those states, and they're all blue. There may be some red states too. You'll end up with about 250 out of 500 congressmen, and all of them conservative, or 90% of them. You'll have a supermajority in the House, a supermajority in the Senate, and Donald Trump is president. And they can cram through all the legislation they want to cram through at that point. Think about it. The FBI discovered that China was manufacturing ballots for Biden, and they covered it up. The CIA is required to inform the Congress, and they didn't, and instead signed documents stating it was the most secure election in American history. Fraud, lying under oath, forgery. Over 250,000 non-citizens are registered to vote in the U.S. While many people will say, we know all of this already, this wasn't for those who know all of this. It was to ensure the legal system can use declassified documents to expedite what will begin to occur tomorrow, today, accountability. It will provide the impetus to make drastic changes to our elections process in the U.S. It now publicly forces Congress to act, but Congress still won't act. Trump will have to do it. My caution, this requires the same organizations, DHS, CIA, FBI, etc., that committed the treason to launch investigations of their own organizations, which form many may experience inside government never works. In my opinion, we have moved to another phase in the operation. The speed will increase exponentially. Get ready. By the way, Amanda Grace was pointing out that this time frame between now and I wish Aaron was on here. Can't remember the name of it, but when the temple was destroyed, it's the 26th or the 28th of July. She says this period right here, historically, many world-changing things happen. Get ready.
The third set of documents we are.
Okay, well, I've already played that video. Let me remove it. There we go. Nancy Pelosi, she come out and said this. She said, Donald Trump, obviously, Trump is a loser. Not like me. I know how to drink the fifth. There's your drunk Nancy. And all of that I just said, all that came out last night, the so-called conservative mainstay, the Drudge Report, this was their headline this morning. Not a damn word. Nothing. Zip, zero, nada. Well, I know Drudge Report sold out, blah, blah. I get that. I get that the Drudge Report is sold out. It's just I'm making a point. Truth Hammer says this. I'm almost done. So numerous CIA and FBI officials ran an active espionage campaign to cover for China, which they knew was taking the whole government effort to swing the 2020 election to Biden. And they actively misled both Congress and the commander-in-chief of the threat against executive office and the Constitution and leadership of the military. Deliberately falsifying intelligence to hide acts of war is espionage at the highest level. Here you go. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were executed for espionage. All involved should be as well. Yep, and it was tried in civilian courts. And they were hung outside of a civilian court. I'm just reminding you. That's why I say I don't follow certain people who say certain things, because we have to follow the Constitution, which is exactly what Donald Trump is doing. He also says this: were any minds changed tonight, meaning last night and today? Did anyone who thinks Trump is lying about election fraud see irrefutable evidence? I think the answer is not yet. Give it a couple days for the newly released documents to emerge and be reported on. Specific details and claims were made. If true and supported by documents released, prove executive action to secure elections is warranted. Listen to what I just said. They're going to wait until it's too late for the Save America Act to work. I'm pretty sure that's what the point of tonight was. So even though 2020 was discussed, this was not a shaping up for what comes next. Or this was a shaping up for what comes next. Yeah. Obviously. Specific details and claims were made. Let me give you an example. We've heard from this month, from June of last year all the way to December 21st, where they, golly, found several million more documents on Epstein nobody knew about. It was Epstein, 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 Epstein from all the Chinese paid for. All the Chinese paid for people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ro Khanna and Massey and all of them. Epstein, 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 Epstein. And they said, Donald Trump's a pedo. Donald Trump's a pervert. Donald Trump's been with Epstein. He's listed in the Epstein files 16 gazillion times. Yeah, all of them saying Epstein, how much Epstein hates Trump. But, don't let the facts get in the way with your opinion. Epstein, 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 Epstein. To get the stuff out of the Southern District of New York, the Epstein files that were held by James Comey's daughter, who was in charge of the Southern District of New York, right? They wanted those files. They didn't want the several million files they got. No. They wanted those files. And then all of a sudden they shut up about it. Why? Because the documents didn't support their opinions. Donald Trump's a pedo. Donald Trump was working with Epstein. Donald Trump's a Jew lover. Donald Trump, Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. It didn't work out. It wasn't in there. They didn't have a smoking gun. So what Truth Hammer is saying is specific claims were made. And if the documents, and I just went through the documents with you, and you can go to my Telegram page and read them yourself. If those documents prove what he said, it's a new ball game. They can't just let it go and bury it. They have to do something. They have to do something. Like take these people that won their elections because it was totally cheated. Those million ballots in Georgia that got this guy elected. I get it. Losing is hard. But 6 years later, Trump is still talking about election he lost. This is something to work through with a therapist. Leave the people of Georgia and the country out of it. No, Warlock. That's what you are, Mr. Warlock. No. We don't. What's done is done. Joe Biden had his 4 years. He's going back to the nursing home. It's wonderful. We're way more concerned that your seat was bought by the Chinese, sir. We're not going to leave Georgia out of it. We're not going to leave you out of it. If you conspired with the Chinese to steal your seat, you're a treasonous bastard, and you should get what the Rosenbergs got. Yeah, they'll send the Secret Service down to talk to me because I said that. To which I'll respond. If it goes through the justice system, that Warlock conspired with the Chinese to get his seat willingly and knowingly, he deserves a treasonous ransom. The only thing the Rosenbergs were hung quickly. I think we should do it George Washington's way. That's what I think. That's what I think. Okay. We're going to end it with this. A little ditty for the fun of it, ladies and gentlemen. A little song I wrote. Hey, it's the weekend. You guys enjoy yourself. Take the next couple days off. Watch my Telegram page if you think you have to, but don't turn on the news and the media and all this stuff. They're just going to blah, 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 Donald Trump, blah, 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 Donald Trump. Because they're all going to jail or worse. Let the self-deporting begin in the name of Jesus. I'm still on there. They didn't kick me off yet, Shirley. No one will see them. They'll suppress it. As I've looked right now, there's 65 people viewing between all the other channels, right? There was up to 350 viewing. It's dropped down because I went so long on Rumble. So you got X is 45 people. The Patriot Mike Show on Facebook is 3. My personal page on Facebook is 14. Patriot Mike on YouTube is 1. So that tell you they suppress it. But anyways, I appreciate y'all joining me. I appreciate y'all's support. Thank you very much. Go check out my products. Right now, there's a bundle on sale. You can get all the new products, and they're going to give you free Slim along with a spoon. It's about $400 worth of product, a retail price, and it's like $139. I mean, you will never. You're basically, they're giving it the house away for free. If you want to try our products, now is the time. Send me a message, patriotmikeshow@gmail.com. Send me a message on Facebook, and I'll send you the link. And you can, I got the link right there. All you got to do is go in and pay for it and be done. I'm telling you, this is I was going to talk about it today, but I broomed it all for this. I'll talk about it on Monday. But there's 7 days left to get this bundle. And it's the launch of our new electrolyte drink. And it's not Brondo. It's really good for you. It doesn't have all the crap in it the other sports drinks do. And a bunch of stuff the other sports drinks don't. It's a massive hack to your body for hydration. It tastes great. It works great. And they're giving the house away. So please support the Patriot Mike Show. It's $139. $130. It's not a lot of money. I mean, go out to eat with 4 people. That's what this costs you. And it's like $400 worth of product if you buy it individually. They're putting it together in one lump sum. And give it a shot. Give it a try. If you want the link, let me know. I'll send it to you. It's not in the description section, by the way. Anyways, you guys have a great day. I will see you all Monday. I'm going to leave you with this song. Patriot Mike is out.
This is how they stole it. This is how they stole it. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la. This is how they stole it. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la. This is how they stole it. La-la-la-la-la-la. This is how they stole it. This is how they stole it every time. And they're gonna try. From MAGA won't let it happen. So I reach for my MAGA hat and I turn it up. Me and my friends are gonna vote Donald Trump. On the car we are slated. Now MAGA's in the street saying, Donnie, yo, we made it. Feels so good, as it should, tonight. All the MAGA red shirts and the flags waving high. Even the liberals are voting for the red side. Gotta bring your crew out, cause we need a red wave. So put your hands up, cause we ain't giving up. And let me hear MAGA say, we ain't gonna lose this time. This is how they stole it. Cause we know everything they're gonna try. This is how they stole it. Let's take our country back tonight. This is how they stole it. We'll never give it back without a fight. This is how they stole it. We ain't gonna lose this time. This is how they stole it. Cause we know everything they're gonna try. This is how they stole it. Let's take our country back tonight. This is how they stole it. We'll never give it back without a fight. This is how they stole it.